Hello, everybody, and welcome to our live Be Baby show, or Raise the Bar, as some of you might know it. Please make sure to comment so that I know who is live with us. And remember that we are using StreamYard, and so you must click the link above to allow StreamYard to share your name with me. Otherwise, you can still comment. I will still see it. I just won't know who you are. All right. So today we are having a lovely session. It's been a while, and we are talking about why does my baby or toddler not sleep? And specifically, is it my fault? Did I cause my baby not to sleep well? Did I cause his sleep problems? I fed him to sleep, and I read somewhere that I wasn't supposed to feed him to sleep. And maybe my mother in law was right. And I coddled him too much. Every time he cried, I ran to him or ran to her. Um, I brought him in bed. I co-slept. I should have never done that. It's my fault. Or maybe I just need to be more consistent. Maybe my husband's right. And we haven't, really ever been super consistent with our nighttime routines. If you've had a sleep problem for any length of time whatsoever with your child, I can almost guarantee to 99.9% that you have blamed yourself at some point. If you're watching and you have blamed yourself in the past for your child's sleep problem, drop a comment and tell me that you have, because I can guarantee that 99% of you guys have. It's the guilt game. And why do we do that? Why do we try and blame ourselves for our children's sleep problems? Well, in every good story with, a problem, a disaster, a climax, a challenge, there must be a villain, right? There has to be a villain. Because if there's no villain, who are you supposed to slay to fix the problem? If there's just a problem and there's no villain, then there's no way to fix it, right? If we are, at a summer camp and everybody's socks and underwear keep getting, stolen at night, and there's no villain, there's nobody, who's actually stealing the socks and underwear, and they're just disappearing into thin air by magic, we have no way of fixing the problem. So we need a villain in order to fix it with our magic beans or our sword. And thus we need a hero, and the hero usually has a guide, right? So that's why we tend to blame ourselves. And then comes into the nasty game of comparison, right? Well, my mom raised 3 kids and, she figured it out. Or your husband will say, well, my colleague's wife did, XYZ, and it fixed the sleep problem. Or your well-intentioned, long estranged cousin, tells you that you just need to be more consistent. And then if you compare yourself, well, you feel bad for having a sleep problem. You assume it's your fault because she doesn't or he doesn't. And again, we go to the blame game. Is it actually your fault? Well, spoiler alert, it's not. It is extremely rarely the fault of a parent when a child has a real severe sleep problem. It's incredibly rarely the fault of the parent. It happens every once in a while, and usually it's not the fault of the parent. It's what the parent did to try and deal with the sleep problem didn't help, and maybe, made it a little bit more complex. And even that is pretty rare. The vast majority of the time, you have nothing to do with it. And so today's session is going to be about figuring out who the actual villain is, so that you actually know which monster to slay to fix your big old sleep problem along the way, right? You need to know who it is, and it's not you. So who actually is it? Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing today. And so we're going to be doing it in a storytelling fashion, because I know that when you are sleep deprived, your brain functions, in a simplistic manner. You're like, girl, just give me the answers, make it easy. And also, please make sure I'll remember it. And so imagery imagery can come a long way. So we're going to, share a story today. Are you guys okay with sharing a story so that we can figure out who the evil person is here and we can fix your sleep problems? That sounds good to you? So the first thing that we need in any story, and I'm looking at my notes here because I actually wrote a storybook for you guys. I really did, so that we can figure it all out. Okay. So the first thing is, who am I? Well, I am Samantha. I am the CEO and the owner of B-Baby. I am a registered nurse clinician, an epidemiologist, a sleep researcher, and the surviving mother of 5 little ones who can really appreciate why you need help with sleep. Okay, that's number one. And in the concept of this story, I'm your guide. Okay, I'm just here to help you succeed at tackling this sleepless issue that you are experiencing. Okay, now let's start with our scenario, right? So we have this scenario of this new mom who's so excited to have her first baby, and this baby comes along and she's just beautiful. She's beautiful, she's magnificent in every single way. She's small, she's cute, she's perfect. And initially she sleeps pretty well. And so her mom, Anastasia, is really excited. You are really excited at how cute she is and how well she sleeps, and everything is going so well. And then a few days in, all of a sudden, this little girl of yours, this little baby of yours, starts not loving sleep so much. And every single time you try and put her down in the crib, she pretty much wakes up instantly. And so you're not sure what to do. So you keep, offering her milk, you keep burping her. You go through a few days and the sleep deprivation starts to accumulate. And now it's been a few weeks and you're getting really tired, and you've tried every single, baby holder you could possibly imagine, right? The baby carriers. And you go see your doctor and you tell him, you're like, she grunts, she screams, she farts, she seems super uncomfortable. She doesn't sleep very well when I do get her down in her bassinet. And most of the time, when I put her down in her bassinet, she wakes up. And he tells you, well, honey, it's reflux, it's colics. You just got to burp her and you got to wait it out. Who here has ever been told that? Just wait it out. It'll get better. And so you are a devoted mother, and you are determined to be as patient as humanly possible. And so you wait. But things don't get better. And she's 6 months old. She's waking up every single hour. And by now, you've basically entered survival mode, and you brought her in bed with you because it's the only way that any of you are going to get any sleep. And so now, baby's sleeping in bed with you. She must be touching you at all times, right? She can't be in bed close to you. She must be on you, like a hand, a face, something must be against your skin. You're not allowed to move too much. And when you're trying to put her to sleep, you must hold her and be in motion. You can't sit on the couch and watch a show. You must be standing, right? And doing that motion. So you're doing this dance to get her to sleep. You're putting her in bed and she's sleeping okay. She's still waking up a few times a night to eat despite all that. You, however, are sleeping like crap. Why? Because a baby is pulling on your hair, perhaps nibbling at your nipple, kicking you in the stomach simultaneously, and your motherhood instincts make you somehow uncomfortable with this whole concept. So you're sleeping, but you're sleeping superficially. You're kind of napping throughout the night. You have officially entered survival mode. Who here can remember a time? May this be your exact story or very different, but you remember that moment where you entered survival mode. Now you wake up every single morning already tired. You are anticipating with excitement the next opportunity to sleep. Coffee is no longer a simple pleasure of the day. It is a survival tool, a requirement in order for you to actually make it through the day. By the time noon rolls around, you feel like you've just survived a 3-day shift and you're done for, but you're not done. You're absolutely exhausted, and everybody tells you you have to enjoy every single moment, but you can't enjoy every single moment because 10 minutes ago, you almost washed your cell phone in the dishwasher. We're at that point. And so when bedtime rolls around, instead of the cute snuggles and the reading of the book and the singing of the song that you've always imagined, you're kind of nervous because bedtime makes you kind of nervous. And in the worst case scenario, you start doing sleep math. Who here has ever done sleep math? Okay, so if I go to bed at this time and she wakes up at this time and at this time, and it takes me approximately this amount of time to get her back down, and she wakes up at this time, technically I should be able to get exactly 3 hours, 20 minutes, and 45 seconds of sleep. That's when you start doing sleep math, okay? So we are in a scenario where you need sleep help, okay? You really, really do. The problem is, what's causing the sleep problem? Who is the villain? Who is the culprit? And that's what we call at Be Baby sleep disruptors. Here's the thing. If you both have two babies, let's say two of you have, no, let's say every single one of you has a 10-month-old baby. And for every single one of you, your 10-month-old baby wakes up 4 times a night. And for every single one of you, you have to feed him and rock him, and then he goes back to sleep. Even though you all have 10-month-old babies that wake up 4 times a night that need to be fed and rocked to go back to sleep, the culprit, the villain, the initial reason as to why your babies are struggling with sleep is different. Your villain is different. And that is what we call at Be Baby your sleep disruptors. Okay. See, we have our villain here who's trying to prevent your baby from sleeping through the night. Okay. There are multiple of these little gremlins, of these little monsters, of these little villains preventing your baby from sleeping through the night. And you need to know who the hell they are if you want to actually fix this sleep problem. And that is what we call sleep disruptors. Now, sleep disruptors come in all kinds of shapes and forms and sizes and timings and what have you. So what we do at Be Baby as consultants is we do really in-depth evaluation. Okay. So we look at your baby's sleep history from the moment they were born to today, everything that happened. Were there any sleep regressions that happened? Was there any, over tiredness cycle that began? Was it, an initial problem with superficial sleep? We look at nutrition. We look at health. We look at development. We look at sleep environment. We will even ask you the last time your baby had a snuffle, okay, and had a cold. We really take the whole picture into account, and then we diagnose the sleep disruptors. We figure out who the villain is in your story so that we can equip you, the hero, with a sleep plan, aka the sword, so that you can actually slay this dragon. Now, what we do is instead of just giving you one method, which is what sleep training typically is, we use sleep education. So now that we have a list of all the specific and unique reasons as to why your baby's struggling with sleep, which isn't you, in case you had missed that part, it's not your fault. We can then actually make a sleep plan that addresses your baby's unique reasons for struggling with sleep. Does that make sense? Somebody says, I always hated when people told me, oh, you'll miss those days. And I just thought, nope, I'm not going to miss these days. I'm not going to miss being sleep deprived, having night rage, feeling guilty for not enjoying my motherhood journey. Absolutely. Right. So here's the thing. Now we know what's causing your sleep problems. We can actually create a plan that is unique to your child. We can actually come with you, be your guide, give you this sleep plan, and help you implement it so that you can be the hero of your very own story. You can be the Luke, and we will be the Yoda to tell you exactly what you need to do, when you need to do it, what to expect so that you can experience Be Baby Magic is what we call it, which is basically your forever after when your baby is now sleeping 12 hours a night consistently without waking up ever again. Now, that is how you make a happy story. You identify your villains, your sleep disruptors, you make a unique plan that addresses them. You go along treading with your Yoda and you implement your sleep plan to make sure that it works. Now, what are types of sleep disruptors? What are the possible sleep disruptors? Well, there's various. And here's the thing, your child most likely has more than one sleep disruptor. As a newborn, it could be GI issues, super common, reflux, colics, gassiness. If your baby's 10 months old but experienced all of this when he was a young newborn, that is likely where things began. Then there are sleep regressions, which it's a misnomer, but we won't go into those details, can happen at 4 months, at 9 months, at 12 months, and at 18 months of age. And these are caused due to huge developmental changes, right? Your child learning something huge. You can't prevent a sleep regression, okay? It's going to happen. You just need to have your Yoda beside you to help you, make sure you get through it unscathed, right? Without being hurt. Who here has experienced the punch in the face that is a sleep regression? There's no other word for it. It's really a punch in the face. Then there's the overtiredness cycle, which is a very common sleep disruptor that's very easy to get into. In fact, it's kind of like an accumulation of multiples. Your baby starts not napping very well for whatever reason. Every time you put him down, he gets a little bit of reflux, causes him to not be able to be put down. And that, messes with his naps. As a result, when bedtime rolls around, he's really tired. When babies are tired, they fight sleep. So he starts fighting you putting him to bed. And so he only goes to bed at like 11 and he's already overtired. So now that he's like super overtired, he sleeps superficially. He didn't actually eat very well either. And so he starts waking up a lot more often. And thus he wakes up in the morning overtired again at 5 a.m. because he's been sleeping superficially. And now you're stuck, right? It's that chain of events. You're stuck in that cycle of overtiredness. Nutrition is a big one. Who has ever struggled with a baby who was taking in a large amount of milk at night and not a large amount of milk during the day? And you're like, yeah, I get it. I shouldn't be feeding him at night. But if I don't, he's not going to get enough milk during a 24-hour period. He's legitimately hungry. So what am I supposed to do? Or your baby's a little bit older and you've been trying to introduce solids, but he's kind of a picky eater. And so he's compensating with more milk, but you know that him drinking too much milk is also contributing to him not eating enough solids. And then what are you supposed to do? Right? Or when he was tiny and he had reflux, you had to hold him to sleep. You had to co-sleep because he was so uncomfortable. And now, even though he doesn't need anymore, he has that separation anxiety. That's another potential sleep disruptor. There are so many sleep disruptors. If we're talking about toddlers or preschoolers, there's a whole nother gamut. We have to go through this full evaluation so that we can know exactly who the villains are in your story to build that plan to help you implement it. But once we've fixed it, once we've fixed your entire sleep problem, we have to stay with you. Your training, my young Luke, is not over. We have to stay with you. Anybody have a guess why we have to stay with you for a few months after we've given you magnificent sleep? And you're like, I don't need you anymore. I'm sleeping wonderfully, and so is my child. Farewell, never come again. No, we have to stick around for a bare minimum of 6 months, ideally at least a good year. Why would that be? Anybody have a wild guess about that? Because of the sleep regressions, because of any and all other potential sleep disruptors that could come and, damage the fabulous sleep you've just created for yourself. We want to make sure we give you a permanent solution. So that's what a sleep consultant really is. That's what our job is to come in, not be the hero of your story, but to come in and to be like, okay, so this is what's going on. Here's a good plan for you to follow. Now let me give it to you, take your hand, and let's do it. And we fix it. And that's how we're able to have a 100% success rate. So, what are the summaries here? First and foremost, if you would like to work with a sleep consultant, please don't hesitate to reach out for help. Everybody needs help every once in a while. And if you have yourself a whole, Disney style movie of sleep problems, yeah, you're going to need somebody to come in and at least, take this minestrone soup of sleep disruptors in front of you and make it clear. Okay. And that's what our job is. So if you're interested in finding out what type of programs that we have for working with a sleep consultant, somebody on my team is going to drop the link here, and I'm also going to post it at the very bottom right here. Okay. But you can actually schedule a free call with us, a complimentary call, so that you can learn more about what sleep consulting actually is. Okay. If your spouse has anything to do with your decision of working with a sleep consultant, please make sure that he is actually there or she is actually there. We don't do the, I'm going to tell him everything he needs to know. Honey, you are sleep deprived. That is our job. Okay. Make it easier for you and make sure everybody that needs to be involved is. Okay. So if you're wondering if sleep consulting is right for you, just go ahead, and schedule a call. Now, that being said, if you want to find out more about sleep disruptors and the categories in which they come in, we are going to be hosting another one of these lives about exactly that next week. So now that you know that the villains are the sleep disruptors, and you must know who the villains are in order to have your happily ever after story, you have to come back next week so that we can help you identify specifically which ones are affecting your little one. Okay. Don't be afraid to reach out to anybody on our team or to email us so that you can get a little bit of help wherever you are. Please make sure that you remember our consultants do not work for free. So if a resource person is giving you emotional support, she cannot build an entire sleep plan for you in the DMs, even though she would like to, but she can give you the link so that you can schedule a call with us and find out if it's the right thing for you. I hope you enjoyed this session, and we will see you again next week. Thank you.